Hello and welcome to Podpad Studios. I'm Mrs Breaker and this week we're going to talk about robots. Anyone can build a robot. We've just built a very, very big robot, but is your robot useful? And does it know how to perform on camera? Is it in the right place at the right time? I'd like to introduce you to the rather camera shy Popeye. I love him. Really useful bot. Anyway, this week Master Maker's been getting really excited about a new bit of tech. Have a look at this.
Right, so let me go through and explain this morning why I'm so excited about all these little boards. So basically I've received this morning this new little board. Now this is the Pololu 4-channel multiplexer. Now, what this is going to allow me to do is going to be really cool. And it's really simple. I think it's like £9.50 board for that little board there. Now, you recognise this, or I can sort of show you there. This is the Pololu Maestro. So the way this is kind of wired up, this is just mocked up on the bench at the moment, and this is then going to be transferred to the T1. But in effect, what we're doing here, let me explain it really simply. We've got a UBEC, which is providing 5 volts power to everything. So that is basically the UBEC is powering up the Pololu Maestro board. And then you can see here coming out of the Pololu Maestro board on the 2 channels, channel 1, channel 2, goes into the multiplexer to the slave input 1 and 2 on the multiplexer. And here's a cool bit, the little RC radio, and I'm just using a little mock-up one at the moment. This is also powered, the radio, the RC receiver, it's powered from the UBEC. I've got coming out of here 3 channels. Now, channel 1 and channel 2 are going to relate to the 2 control channels, and they're going into master 1 and master 2 input. And at the top of this board there's a little input called SEL, right, or select, I don't know what it actually stands for, but SEL. I've got that going out of there into the RC receiver to a switch in the receiver. So the way this works is this, and then two little servos mocked up connected to the multiplexer board to the outputs. This board has got 4 outputs. So this is connected to output 1 and 2 because they're the inputs I'm using. So this Pololu's got a little pre-program on it that runs. And let me power everything up. I'm using a little kind of radio here. So what I can now do, everything is kind of, oops, let's just check that everything is powered up. There we go, everything's powered up. What I can do now, and this is the really cool bit, when I press a button on the radio, on the receiver, you can see my servos run, right? This one's not really programmed to do much, it just moves a little bit. That one moves quite a lot. So my 2 little servos are moving. Now they're doing that on their own. They're being controlled from the Pololu board, but the receiver is still in line. When I press that button again, I turn it off, and look, I can now control the servos from the radio. But here's the cool bit, the Pololu board's still connected, so when I flick the switch on the radio, we're back to Pololu control. So basically what this means is this is just a switch, and it's a switch that's going to allow me to either work in autonomous mode or switch over to radio control mode anytime I want. And this little assembly, obviously not all the servos and everything on the receiver, but this will go into Tiffany, which will control her head, and this will allow effectively full autonomous control of her head. Now the other clever bit is on the Pololu, on the Maestro here board, I can actually select inputs. So what I can do is I can take outputs from the Raspberry Pi, from the object recognition, and I can use those to trigger actions on the Pololu board, which will trigger actions on the servos on Tiffany's head. And that will happen all autonomously. But at any point, if I want to, I can override it all by simply pressing a button, and I've got full radio control. How cool is a little £9.50 board?
So I think this recipe, that'll be a really good one to do, don't you? Oh, hello. So there's going to be lots and lots of info about the tech inside Tiffany on our Patreon account. So we're doing 3 videos all about all the electronics. You saw a little bit of it during that. So in the meantime, here's the second half of the video, all about installing that new board.
Right, so earlier you saw me playing around with the Pololu 4-channel multiplexing board, linked with the Pololu Maestro, linked with an RC controller, all on the bench. And I was getting the servos all working. What was the point of it? As I said, the point of all this is so I can have Tiffany in an autonomous mode, meaning she can just get on and do things on her own. But at any point, I can flick a switch on the radio and I take back control. I've got RC control. All that kit is now in Tiffany, although saying that all that is a Pololu Maestro board and the Multiplexer board. And what I've been doing here is effectively writing the code for the autonomous mode, which I am basically now going to send to Tiffany. Right, now, what I'm now going to do, I'm going to show you this. I'm going to power her down. I'm going to disconnect the computer. This computer is now completely connected, disconnected. Power her back up. And what you can see now is her head. She's doing all that on her own. So she's been sent the code. She's doing that on her own. Yes, you are. On your own. However, this is the cool bit. If I take the radio and I flick a switch because I've selected a particular channel, I have now got control. So I have now got radio control over her head. Flick the channel back. And she goes back. Wait for the program to run into autonomous mode. Now, this is just using the Pololu Maestro board. What I'm now going to do is take the output pins from the Raspberry Pi with the object tracking, because we know there's cameras in her head, and I'm going to use those instances to trigger different programs that will run on the Pololu board. So in effect, she will react to things that she sees, which is really cool.
So don't forget, the first time Tiffany will be out is at Makers Central on the 13th and 14th of May this year. That's at the Birmingham NEC. Tickets are available now, so don't forget to get yours. And we're looking forward to seeing you all there. And also, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell. Ting! Bye!